Before the storm broke that night, before fate came knocking with bloody hands, Tobias Redmont still believed solitude could keep the past buried. He had lived alone for 8 years, speaking only to his horses and the wind. But when 10 Apache women appeared at his gate that storm-soaked night, pleading for shelter, Tobias Redmont was forced to confront the hardest decision of his life, because the men hunting them were already close, enough to catch the scent of smoke curling from his chimney. The rain slammed against the wooden shutters like gunfire, each pounding drop a reminder of why sensible people stayed. Inside, when the land turned violent, Tobias sat near the fireplace, repairing a bridle worn thin by time and neglect when the knocking began. It was not the cautious tap of a neighbor. It was frantic, insistent, the sound of people who had run out of places to run. He froze, leather strap still clenched in his hands. Nobody came to his ranch. Not anymore. Not since he had made it unmistakably clear that Tobias Redmont wanted no part of the world beyond his fence. The knocking came again, harder now, joined by voices speaking a language he knew but had not heard in years, Apache. His blood went cold. The last time that language had reached his ears, his wife and daughter had still been alive. The last time strangers came to his door in the night, he had buried everything he loved by morning. His hand drifted automatically toward the rifle mounted above the mantel. Muscle memory from nights when sleep meant one eye open and the other watching shadows. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the sound of the voices. Not angry shouts or threats, but something closer to begging. Maybe it was the way the wind carried their words, fractured and desperate. Or maybe it was the simple truth that warriors rarely announce themselves by knocking. He moved toward the thick oak door, every step slow and deliberate. Through the heavy wood, the sounds grew clearer. Women's voices hushed, urgent. One voice rose above the rest, speaking English with an accent that made every word feel carved from stone. Please, we know you are there. We need shelter. Only for tonight. Tobias pressed his palm against the door, feeling the faint vibration of their voices through the grain of the wood. 8 years of isolation had taught him to trust his instincts. And every instinct screamed danger, not from the women, but from whatever had driven them to his door during a storm that could kill a man in minutes. He thought of Sarah, how she used to chide him for distrusting strangers, how she believed kindness was the one thing that separated people from animals. But Sarah was gone, and kindness had died with her on a morning when he trusted the wrong men. The voice returned closer now, as if the speaker had leaned her face against the door. They are coming. If you do not help us, we will die out here, and when they find our bodies at your gate, you will die too. Tobias's hand hovered over the iron bar that secured the door. In 8 years, he had never lifted it for anyone. But there was something in that voice, a certainty that settled heavy in his gut, telling him that tonight would change everything. Somewhere beyond his fence, riders were closing in. Once they arrived, there would be no return to the quiet life he had built in the shadows. The iron bar felt heavier than it should have. When he finally pulled it free, 8 years of rust and fear resisted him. Still, the desperation in that woman's voice cut through his defenses like steel through paper. The door creaked open and revealed a sight that would follow him to his grave. 10 Apache women huddled on his porch, their traditional dresses torn and soaked with mud, some stained dark with blood. The youngest could not have been more than 16, holding a bundle that stirred weakly, a baby barely breathing in the cold. The oldest bore silver threads in her black hair and eyes that had witnessed too much death. Yet it was the woman who had spoken who drew his gaze. She stood slightly apart, chin lifted despite exhaustion carved into her face. Blood ran from a cut above her left eye, her dress torn at the shoulder. But her stare met his without wavering. "I'm Ayana," she said, her English careful and precise. "These are my sisters, my daughters, my people. We have been running for 3 days." Tobias opened his mouth, then closed it. Questions pressed in on him, where they came from, why they were alone, who hunted them. But the sight of the infant's pale lips silenced everything. Some things mattered more than answers. "Come in," he heard himself say as he stepped aside. Quickly they slipped past him like shadows, entering the warmth of his home. Tobias had forgotten how small the cabin felt with others inside. For 8 years it had been his fortress, his refuge from a world that had taken everything. Now it shrank around these women who carried with them the scent of rain, fear and something else. The metallic smell of blood not entirely their own. Ayana entered last, and as she passed him she spoke so softly he almost missed it. The soldiers who hunt us are close. Perhaps an hour. Maybe less. They will not stop until we are all dead. Tobias shut the door and slid the bar back into place, knowing it likely meant nothing now. His sanctuary had been breached not by force, but by choice, and choices always carried consequences. Why? He asked, turning toward Ayanna. Why are they hunting you? Her eyes met his, and he saw a pain he recognized, the look of someone who had lost everything and survived. Because we ran instead of dying quietly. Because we chose life when they expected death. Because some of us fought back when they burned our village and murdered our men. The baby whimpered softly and Ayanna's jaw tightened. And because one of their officers will not face justice if we live to tell what he did to my youngest sister. Something icy settled in Tobias's stomach. He had known men like that. Uniforms without honor. Men who took what they wanted and silenced anyone who might speak. How many are coming, he asked.
8, maybe 10.
Led by a captain named Morrison. He hunts Apache villages, calls us hostile, but his true enemy is anyone who might expose what he really is. Tobias moved to the window and peered through a crack in the shutters at the storm-darkened land beyond his fence. Nothing moved, but that meant nothing. Skilled killers knew how to disappear. He turned back to the women gathered near the fire, tending wounds, holding one another. Survivors, not warriors. But survival often demanded a person become something they never intended. There is a cellar beneath the kitchen, he said. Stone walls, hidden entrance. It may fit you all, but barely. Ayanna shook her head. If they search and find us, you die with us. If they find signs we were here but an empty house, they may believe you uninvolved. We will not make you an enemy of the United States Army. Tobias almost laughed. 8 years too late for that. I became their enemy the day I lived past what they did to my family. The question is whether we run or make them pay for coming here. Something shifted in Ayanna's eyes, surprise, recognition, perhaps hope. Outside, the storm began to weaken, and with it the cover it provided. From the distance came the sound of horses moving, through mud and the low voices of men, convinced their prey was trapped. The sound of approaching riders felt like a death sentence. Tobias moved with practiced efficiency, grabbing his rifle and ammunition. But when he turned back, he stopped short. Ayanna no longer looked like a desperate fugitive. She stood tall, commanding, a knife gleaming in her hand. The other women had changed as well. Some revealing weapons hidden beneath torn fabric. Others positioning themselves with practiced ease. You are not helpless, Tobias said. We never were, Ayanna replied. Sometimes it is useful to let men believe what they wish. Captain Morrison thinks he hunts frightened women. He is wrong. The youngest woman slipped toward the back with the baby, others following without instruction. They had planned for this. Tobias realized he was not sheltering victims, but warriors who had chosen this ground. How many men have you killed? He asked Ayanna. Enough to know. Morrison soldiers are not the first to underestimate. Apache women, and they will not be the last. Outside, voices grew clearer, men coordinating, confident. Tobias counted at least 6. The cellar, he said again. Ayanna shook her head. We end this here, or it never ends. Tobias felt a clarity he had not known in 8 years, the calm before violence. These women had chosen him deliberately. What do you need from me? He asked. Ayanna's smile was sharp. When they see a white rancher fighting beside us, they will hesitate. That hesitation will cost them everything. A horse snorted near the house, boots splashed in mud. Someone circled the building. Tobias checked his rifle. Sarah's voice whispered in his memory about kindness. He understood now that kindness sometimes wore the face of violence when it stood between innocence and evil. There is something else, Ayanna said. When this ends, you cannot stay. Morrison's death will bring questions. Tobias nodded. He had known that the moment he opened the door. Outside, a commanding voice rang out. I know you're in there. Come out now and we'll make it quick. Captain Morrison had arrived, and he was about to learn that some hunts ended badly for the hunter. Tobias took position by the front window as Ayanna and others melted into shadow. The remaining women disappeared into the back, setting layered defenses. Rancher, Morrison shouted. We are tracking dangerous fugitives. Open the door or be treated as an accomplice. Through the shutters, Tobias saw figures spreading out. Standard tactics based on false assumptions. Ayanna appeared beside him, whispering names of men and crimes committed. Predators in uniform. How do you want to do this? Tobias asked. Morrison will enter first. He likes fear. When you see the signal, take him. We handle the rest. The sound of rifles being readied echoed. Then Morrison kicked the door in, stepping into the barrel of Tobias's Winchester. Confusion flashed across his face. The mirror flashed, the signal passed. Blades whispered. Men died without screams. Morrison realized too late. Ayanna struck from behind. "This is for my sister," she whispered, driving steel home. "And for every woman you thought too weak." Morrison fell, but before relief could settle, more horses approached. Reinforcements. The real battle was beginning. The sound of approaching reinforcements turned Tobias's blood to ice. Through the shattered doorway, torchlight flickered against the rain, revealing more riders than he had hoped to see. At least a dozen, maybe more. Morrison had only been the forward edge of something larger. Ayanna withdrew her blade from Morrison's chest, her expression hard as she listened. Around them, her women emerged from the shadows one by one, each confirming the truth Tobias already felt settling in his bones. Morrison's squad was dead, but the victory had lasted no more than half a minute. "How many?" Ayanna asked quietly. One of the women peered through the darkness. 15 riders, maybe 20. They heard the gunshot. They know something went wrong. Tobias felt the familiar weight of impossible choices press down on him. Fight and die fast, or surrender and die slow. But as he looked at these women, bloodied and unbroken, he realized there might be another path, one that demanded he become the man he had once been before grief turned him inward. "The spillway," he said quickly, "not to hide, but to survive what comes next." Ayanna shook her head. "We cannot outrun that many. They will hunt us across territories." "We are not running," Tobias replied, moving toward a cabinet he had not opened in 8 years. Inside, wrapped in oiled cloth, were tools from another life: dynamite, fuses, the instruments of a man who once carved mountains for railroads and later destroyed things when war demanded it. "My ranch sits above a narrow valley," he said as his hands worked with old familiarity. The drainage funnels straight down. "In a storm like this, if the dam goes," understanding sparked in Ayanna's eyes, "the valley floods. Anyone caught there dies. But that destroys your land, your home." Tobias looked around the cabin that had been his prison, then at Morrison's body cooling on his floor. Home was no longer a place. It was a choice. "Some things matter more than land," he said, echoing words Sarah once spoke. Outside, voices drew closer, orders sharper. Someone had found the body. "Lieutenant Morrison is dead," a voice shouted. "Surrender now or we burn you out." Ayanna studied Tobias. "If we do this, you will be hunted forever." He lifted his rifle. "I've been dead 8 years. Tonight I choose to live." They turned toward the back door, but a sound stopped them cold. A baby crying, not the one in their arms. Another, somewhere beyond the rain. Tobias froze, the dynamite heavy in his hands. Torchlight danced over Morrison's corpse, and beyond it, an innocent child cried in the dark. Ayanna seized his arm. "It could be a trick. Soldiers have used such things." Tobias shook his head. He knew the sound of real terror. "We can't blow the dam," he said. "Not with a child down there." "Then we all die," one woman hissed. "My child's life is worth no less." She was right, and Tobias knew it. But some lines once crossed could not be uncrossed. "There is another way," he said, setting the explosives down. Harder, riskier, but it keeps everyone breathing. Ayanna's gaze narrowed. "Speak. We let them think we are trapped. They will send men to flush us out while others hold back. Whoever brought that baby will be with the rear. That leaves fewer here." Tobias moved to another cabinet, revealing caltrops, tripwires, traps fashioned long ago. 8 years ago, I built this place out of fear. Tonight, we use it to keep people alive. Outside, commands were being reorganized. Morrison's second had taken charge. "How do we split them?" Ayanna asked. "We give them what they expect. A last stand, noise, desperation. Half their force will rush us. The rest will hold the horses. Then we show them the difference between hunting frightened women and fighting people with nothing left to lose." The plan was simple and brutal. Ayanna and 4 women would draw the assault at the front. Tobias and the others would circle through ground only he knew. Strike the reserve and get the baby out. "If this fails," Ayanna said, "Morrison's death means nothing." "If we do nothing," Tobias replied, "a child dies tonight. Sometimes the only choice is between bad and worse." The baby cried again, weaker now. "Move," Tobias whispered. Ayanna's group took positions at the front, overturning furniture, shouting defiance. Tobias led, the others into the rain through the back. The storm had softened, but the ground was slick. As they moved, Tobias realized his mistake. The baby was closer than he thought, between the house and the main camp. Saving it meant walking straight into danger. The cries came from a wagon set between the two groups. Tobias crept closer, seeing a supply cart and beside it a young woman bent over a child, not a soldier's wife, a camp worker. He signaled the women to hold while he moved forward. He heard the woman whispering desperately to the infant. From the house came the crash of gunfire. The distraction was working. Soldiers rushed forward, leaving the wagon lightly guarded. Lightly still meant 3 armed men. Tobias rose from cover and walked toward them, rifle low. One guard raised his weapon. "Easy," Tobias called calmly. "Lieutenant Morrison sent me to secure civilians." The lie bought seconds. The guard hesitated. "You're not Army." "No," Tobias agreed and struck him down. The young woman looked up, terror etched into her face. "Please," she whispered. "Don't hurt my baby." "Neither have you," Tobias said. "What's your name?" "Mary." "Mary Hendricks. I cook for them." He said it would be safe. Tobias felt rage flare. Morrison's lies reached even here. "Mary, you're leaving now. When the shooting starts, run for the trees. Follow the creek south. Tell them Tobias Redmont sent you." "What about you?" Before he answered, the remaining guards moved, but the Apache women struck first. The fight ended quickly. Mary ran into the storm with her child. From the house came silence. Too much silence. Then a new voice cut through the night, calm and cold. "This is Colonel Bradley. You are surrounded by a full company. Surrender or be burned out." Tobias felt the night close in. Morrison had been bait. Torches spread in a wide ring. Then Ayana's voice rang out. "Tobias, we have Bradley's son." Silence fell. Bradley spoke again, shaken. "Release him and we can talk." "There are no terms," Ayana shouted. "Only justice." Tobias moved back toward the house, navigating a maze of soldiers. 2 Apache women lay still near the porch, their sacrifice paid in blood. Inside, Ayana stood behind a young lieutenant, blade at his throat. "He came through the back," she said. Tobias studied the boy. "How old are you?" 19. "Same age as the girl who just fled because of your father. Did you know what Morrison was doing?" "I thought we were stopping raiders." "Your father lied," Ayana said. Outside, Bradley offered safe passage. Tobias saw shock growing in the boy's eyes. "There is another way," Tobias said. "His testimony could destroy his father. You want me to betray him? I want you to tell the truth." Before an answer came, new horses approached bearing different uniforms. Federal authority. Someone had been watching. Bradley's power cracked. "What do you need me to say?" the boy whispered. Dawn came slowly, as if the land itself hesitated to look upon what the night had done. Pale light crept over Tobias Redmont's ranch, washing the mud, blood and broken timbers in muted gold and red. The storm had finally passed, leaving behind a silence heavier than thunder. Federal investigators moved through, the ruins with clipped voices and careful steps, their lanterns extinguished now that the sun was rising. Lieutenant Bradley sat on a crate near the remains of the front door, shoulders slumped, eyes hollow, answering questions in a voice that barely sounded like his own. Each word he spoke stripped another layer of protection from his father. Unraveling a career built on lies, fear, and blood, Colonel Bradley stood under guard several yards away. Wrists chained, his face rigid with disbelief and rage. He did not look at his son. He did not need to. The truth hung between them, heavier than iron. The investigators listened in grim silence as the story unfolded. Village after village labeled hostile, reports falsified, women silenced, men executed, and an entire campaign constructed to justify cruelty as duty. Pens scratched across paper, names were written down, dates recorded, orders traced back through channels that suddenly felt very fragile. What had begun as a hunt for 10 Apache women ended as an indictment of something far larger and far uglier. Ayana stood near the edge of the clearing with the surviving women, her posture proud despite exhaustion weighing on her shoulders. 2 bodies lay wrapped nearby, sisters who would not see another sunrise. She watched as federal medics examined the wounded, including the youngest woman, and the infant who had survived. The night clutched safely in her arms. Not far away, Mary Hendricks sat on a blanket with her own child pressed to her chest, tears streaking lines through the dried mud on her face. A marshal knelt beside her, offering water and quiet reassurance, while she stared at Tobias with an expression that held gratitude and disbelief in equal measure. Tobias stood apart from all of them, leaning against what remained of his porch, his rifle resting on the ground at his feet. The ranch looked smaller in daylight, stripped of shadows, stripped of the illusion that it had ever truly been a refuge. Walls were scarred, furniture destroyed, blood darkened the floorboards. 8 years of isolation ended in one night, leaving behind nothing familiar. And yet he felt lighter than he had in a long time. One of the investigators approached him, hat in hand, eyes sharp but not unkind. "Tobias Redmont, you're going to have a lot of questions coming your way." Tobias nodded. "I figured as much. You'll be asked to testify against Bradley, against Morrison's actions, possibly others." Tobias looked toward Ayanna and her people, then toward Mary and the babies. "If telling the truth keeps this from happening again, I'll answer whatever they ask." The investigator studied him for a long moment, then nodded once. "You saved lives tonight. That will matter." Tobias wasn't sure if it would. He had learned long ago that justice moved slowly if it moved at all. But sometimes enough truth forced even powerful men to fall. Ayanna approached him then, her steps quiet, her expression unreadable. "The night has ended," she said, "but its cost will follow us." Tobias met her gaze. "I know. Federal protection has been offered," she continued. "Safe passage north, compensation for what was taken. Words cannot replace our dead, but they may help our children live." Tobias nodded. "And you? What will you do?" She looked past him toward the open land. "We will go to family who escaped. We will rebuild because living is our answer to those who tried to erase us." She paused, then added, "This place carries too much blood." Tobias followed her eyes to the wreckage of his home. He had known that before she said it. "What about you?" she asked. "Your solitude is gone. The man who hid here cannot return." Tobias breathed in the cold morning air. "The man who hid here died last night. I think I'll head west, find work where a man can build something useful, somewhere that needs defending too." Ayanna studied his face, then nodded. "The world needs men who remember what matters." She reached into a small pouch at her side and placed something in his hand. A simple beadwork charm worn smooth with age. "For protection," she said, "and remembrance." Tobias closed his fingers around it. "Thank you." Mary approached then, her baby asleep against her shoulder. She stopped a few steps away, uncertain. "Mr. Redmont," she said softly, "I don't know how to repay you." Tobias shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. Get to Denver. Keep your child safe. That's payment enough." She nodded, tears spilling freely now, and turned away as a marshal guided her toward a waiting wagon. The Apache women prepared to ride north, their horses lined up. Supplies gathered from what the army now offered instead of weapons. Ayanna mounted last. Before she did, she looked back at Tobias one final time. "The stories they will tell about this night," she said, "they will not be entirely true. They never are." Tobias allowed himself a small, tired smile. "As long as the right people live to tell them, I suppose that's enough." She returned the smile, then swung into the saddle. With quiet determination, they rode out, heading toward a future that had been nearly stolen from them. The federal wagons followed, carrying prisoners, evidence, and the weight of revelations that would ripple far beyond this valley. Slowly, the land emptied. Tobias was left standing alone once more, but it was not the same kind of loneliness. The silence now felt earned, not imposed. He walked through the ruins of his home, stepping over broken wood and spent shells, memories stirring with each step. Here was the chair Sarah used to sit in, here the table where his daughter once traced shapes and spilled flour. He did not linger long. The past had its time. By midday, Tobias had packed what little remained worth taking. His rifle, his horse, the charm Ayanna had given him. He took one last look at the ranch, then turned west. The road stretched wide and uncertain, but for the first time in 8 years it did not frighten him. Years later, travelers would speak in hushed tones of the night 10. Apache women and one solitary rancher stood against soldiers and lived. Some said it was luck. Others said it was fate. Those who were there knew better. It was choice. The choice to open a door. The choice to stand when it would have been easier to hide. The choice to remain human when safety demanded silence. And sometimes when the night is darkest and the cost is highest, that is the only choice that matters.